Hey Roadies, this is Adriana from roadiefreeradio. In this episode, Larry speaks with German sound engineer Dani Seggewiss. In this short clip, Dani explains that at the age of 13, she knew upon entering a concert her mother took her to that live sound was where she belonged. Going back to those same gigs to hang out backstage with the crew, these interactions and friendships she made would allow her to get one of her first live gigs. As of today, Dani has worked her way up to main stage monitor engineer at local festivals and spends most of her career freelancing for bands like The Sweet and Opeth. If you want to hear more about Dani, make sure to check out the full episode number 112 from December 3rd, 2018. Thank you for listening and thank you for subbing. Enjoy the show.
And what, when did the music thing for you start taking hold?
Right, so like I said, my whole childhood, it was always something that music, it may even just like a radio playing, there was always, like, I feel like there was always music around, but I can pinpoint it to like a day when I was 13, I went to a gig, my mum took me to a gig, and we used to have like one-day festivals in Germany, which was like we're called oldie nights, so it's basically like one decade. So this was the 70s rock, right? So Slade, Sweet, Susie Quattro, I don't know, those kind of bands. And I was there and I was just watching everything. And I remember I was in the pit and I could see, well, I didn't know it was Monitor World, but I could see Monitor World. I could see the crew on that side. I could see the band. I could see the audience. And just the whole thing, I thought, that's what I'm going to, do in a way. I didn't so much care about the band.
Okay.
On like musicians. I was like, I don't know what they do. No idea what, what that is, but that's what I want to do.
All right, I'm going to stop you real quick. Can you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm getting a weird buzz.
All right.
But you know what? It must be the fact that we're in international waters, man. Because every time I talk, it goes away.
Okay.
So it's just got to be the reception. That's all. So we're gonna deal with it. All right. It is what it is. No problem.
All right.
All right. So, okay. Right. So going back,
Yeah.
You were automatically struck by the people behind the scenes. It wasn't so much the entire spectacle.
I mean, it was all like to see, I think there was maybe a couple of, maybe 20,000 people in this arena, and to see how they having a great time, and obviously, to be part of the whole was, but I right away I would have never wanted to be a musician. I don't think, I mean, I do play a little bit, here and there. I do enjoy that kind of stuff, but I'd never wanted to be in the spotlight or anything like that. So I saw those guys who were kind of hiding somewhere and doing something, but even then I could already kind of tell that helped, that contributed to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no clue what it was, but I was like, that's
where I'm going. All right, cool.
It.
So you're 13 years old.
Yeah.
This was like your first big concert.
Yeah.
What was the next step that you took toward that?
The next step was, Google,
Right.
What's the guy called that's standing over there doing that kind of thing? What, yeah. I mean, because, like you, I mean, I didn't have anybody in my family who kind of knew, well, that's, the career or whatever.
Yeah.
So a bit of research trying out. And then I was quite lucky that some of those bands I got to know the crew. I got to meet some of the people, and I got to see them like maybe once a year or something. And I just went, it's like, can I go stand behind you and just watch what you do? And you go, yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, my mum was kind of becoming friends with some of the people involved in those big shows, and she always tells a story that she thought she would take me once, because I would always say, oh, can you take me to one of those shows as well? And she would always say, oh yeah, I'll take you once, and probably 13-year-old kid would never want to go again.
Yeah,
but that was wrong.
Little did she know.
Exactly, that didn't work out. So here was me going, can I go again? So yeah, I just kept kind of going back. And so I always count, this is probably the first 5 years of like 13 to 18 where I kept watching people do it as already kind of a learning just how big events work maybe, and that kind of stuff, where not to go and how to behave around a stage and all that.
Yeah, that's wild. And then were you taking that back? So 13 to 18, you just said?
Yeah. Yeah.
So were you taking that back to your high school or wherever, or your friends who were in bands, and be like, hey, I am going to buy a mixer and try to mix you guys? Or
Yeah,
no?
I did kind of. We had something at school. So they had like a big band, and I tried to kind of get into there, but the teachers weren't very encouraging, may I say. So it was even whenever I said, well, I want to go into music or music tech or that kind of stuff, they were like, oh, no, you should probably, how about this, and try to get me to probably choose, something else. If it has to be music, how about teaching or that kind of stuff.
Because why?
Well, I mean that maybe because I'm a girl. I was a girl. I'm not quite sure because there were some boys in the classes who did, help out around the mixing, whatever it was. But I think because I had the connection, I met those guys on the concerts. I didn't really care too much. I was like, all right, if you don't want to show me that, I'll go back
Right.
to the other guys, and they'll happily let me watch. So it feels like I just kind of whenever I encountered a no, I went, oh, I'll find, I'll go that way then.
Yeah.
And again, circle around and come back to it.
Yeah. Has that been a guiding force for you?
Yeah.
Someone
I
says
think
no,
so.
like I'm going to find my own way.
I think so. And I never, it was actually when Carrie wrote a piece about me, a little profile, that I thought about this whole thing because she obviously asked the question, did you ever had to overcome any obstacles? Because it never felt like it to me, but like looking back, it's probably whenever I hit a dead end, I went, oh, I'll just go the other way and see if,
Right.
find my way that way.
It's just interesting because like you're not that old unless you've aged really well, right? You're not that old. And so you'd think like in the last 10, 20 years,
Yeah.
right? Like this is still going on. There's still a little bit. And as we know, there's still a lot of it going on. But it's just, but even in schools, man, I mean, it's just so hard because again, I now I see it through the lens of being a dad, and I think about like what's coming from my son and the boxes that he's going to get put in and all this shit, the fucking box I'm going to put him in, and inadvertently, but to have a dream or to have a thought of like, oh, I want to try this, and someone is always there, right? Someone's there at every fucking stage in your life to be like, nah. And it's really their hang up, right? It's not your it's their hang up.
No, exactly. In Germany, the school system is like, I know, I know certainly in America, you can do probably a bit more specified technical, already in school, you can kind of go away or one way or the other, maybe.
Yeah.
In Germany, it's all very, you go through school the one way. There's not like you can then specialize in the one or the other. You just go through the school and they try to obviously maybe advise you about where to go from there, but you can't really specialize at school yet. So it wasn't like that would have not been an option for me anyways. It was certainly a way of, whenever I remember I mentioned, I'm going to do, work in music, and people, well, it was almost a giggle coming back, going, oh, really? And like, but somehow it really, since, until I actually thought about it, I've never really, acknowledge the fact that there was so many people saying no, because for me it was just like, well, I'm here now. Right. I've done it,
Right. Hey, what's happening, roadies? It's Larry here. Just wanted to thank you so much for listening to this short clip. I really hope you got something out of it. If you can take 2 seconds to head over to iTunes and drop us a review or a comment, we would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Keep listening, keep coming back, stay healthy out there, and remember, no roadies, no rock and roll.